Welcome to LaughNapkin. Today I have 3 stories for episode 6 of r/MaliciousCompliance. So hit that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and let's get into it. 3 plus 3 plus 1.5 equals all you're getting is a half hour, tops. Years ago, one of my employer's clients decided to set up a new office in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I got chosen to spend 3 weeks there setting up the new space. Also chosen for the job was a guy from another division's Chicago office, Dave. I'd never worked with Dave before, but from the start I didn't like him much. He was never less than 15 minutes late. He lumbered like a zombie, and I also caught him dozing off more than a few times during the first week on site. Still, he was the closest thing I had to a friend in Fort Wayne, so I invited him out to the bar on Friday for all the company-funded booze we could drink. "I wish," he says. "I'm going home and passing out until Monday. The commute has been killing me." Wait, what? It seems Dave's boss had been a jerk, and instead of paying for a plane ticket, hotel, and rental car like my boss had, he'd instructed Dave to drive from Chicago, almost 3 hours away. Me, dude, that is like totally no bueno. 6 hours a day just driving? Dave, yeah, it sucks. Me, still, it'll be killer money. That puts you at what, like 70 hours this week? Jeez. Make sure you put in for your gas and tolls quick though. The last time I had to get reimbursed for expenses, it took them over a month. I could see what little light Dave's eyes held fade. Dave, they're not paying me for any of that. Hearing that, I put in a call to my boss, who was just as puzzled as I was. If he'd worked for our division, he'd be paid for his drive time and expenses at least. And we're both pretty sure it was corporate edict and not something individual divisions could choose not to obey. Unfortunately, neither I nor my boss had any say in the matter, and neither of us were familiar with Illinois or Indiana labor law. So all we could do was advise Dave to save his receipts for the IRS and complain to HR. On Monday, Dave was late again. After an hour, I was worried and called his cell phone. "Dave, I just passed Portage, making pretty good time all things considered. I should be there in about 2 hours. Dave sounded perfectly happy about it, so I figured he'd been required to stop into his office before heading out for some reason. Me, "Okay, Dave, I'll see you then." When Dave arrived a little after 11, the first thing he did was take a 15-minute break. Long drive, I understood. There was still most of the day ahead of us, and after the break, Dave finally got down to business booting up his computer. He had barely logged in when he stood up and announced he was taking his lunch. Okay, something was going on, but I hadn't the foggiest idea what. After lunch, Dave finally got around to do some work, putting in a good 20 minutes reading email before stopping by to see me. "Dave, I'm gonna take my second 15 now, then I'm headed home." Me, what? Dave, grinning like a nut. "Don't worry, I spoke to HR over the weekend." I didn't see Dave on Tuesday. His cell phone was going unanswered, and neither my boss or I had any luck finding out why. We didn't try hard, not our zoo, and not our monkey after all. Ditto for Wednesday, but whatever, he's probably just sick. And then on Thursday, I see Dave, before work, at the hotel breakfast buffet. Me, "Dave, I was getting worried when you were no-show for the last 2 days." Dave laughed a little, and then after we piled our plates with bad scrambled eggs and burned sausages, told me a story. On Monday, the client had noticed him coming in late, doing no work, and leaving early, and called our company to complain. Dave, in turn, was called into a disciplinary meeting with his boss and local HR, who were prepared to terminate him over putting in for 32 hours of unearned overtime the previous week and not working at all the day before. Dave said they were serious too. One of the guys from the building security interrupted the meeting to deliver a box containing the personal effects from his desk. Dave had an ace though, well, 3 aces. An email from his boss instructing him to drive to Fort Wayne every day at his own expense as a change in work location. An email from corporate HR telling him that while he wasn't required to work overtime, He was required to report any overtime worked, including driving to or from a client, and a page from his division's employee manual which covered paid breaks off-site. He then informed them that he was not working any more overtime, and after 3 hours driving in, 1.5 hours of breaks, and 3 hours home, it left him with just a half hour a day to do actual work. Less, actually, if traffic was bad. Oh, and that corporate HR was willing to stand behind him on it. He'd just spoken to them before the meeting. Dave, it took them about 3 seconds to realize they were screwed. And well, here I am, back in action. And since everything was booked last minute, I'm in a suite with a jacuzzi and my rental is a damn Cadillac. $20 minimum? If you insist, mate. This story comes from Melbourne, Australia, where the liquor laws are pretty strict. We had a local pub near work that did $5 wines and beers during happy hour. It was a bit of a dump, but we didn't mind. 3 of us would go regularly every Friday to relax. We usually bought rounds for each other, so 3 at a time, or maybe just 1 each if not all of us wanted a top-up. Since this is a modern world, we'd pay by debit and just tap our card on the little machine. Simple and easy. One week, I get to the pub before the others, so I went to order a wine for myself and reserve a nice table in the sun. When I went to pay, the bartender informed me of the manager's new rule. To pay by card is now a $20 minimum. For cash, a new ATM had been installed in the corner that only gives 20s and charges $3.50 per cash out, of which the bar gets a good cut. Now, I know it costs for every electronic transaction to occur, and it's not unusual to find small coffee shops asking for a $5 minimum to cover those costs. But $20 was outrageous, especially in a dive where all drinks are dirt cheap. It wouldn't even cover a usual round for us 3. The bartender had to shrug and insist it was the manager's new rule. I tried to argue against it since I just wanted a single glass. The manager came out and firmly reiterated that I'd either have to buy 4 wines or get cash from the ATM. But I refused to spend money in order to access my own money. I asked for 4 wines. Now, I am a petite woman. It doesn't take too much to get me sloppy. I paid by card and sat there at the empty bar and pounded these 4 cab sauves with the same speed that I'd usually nurse one. By the time I had finished, my friends were still not there, so I asked the bartender for 1 more glass of wine. The manager was also still there, cleaning glasses. He told me again what he was instructed to say before. There's a $20 minimum, so I ordered 4 more drinks. The manager looked pleased that his system was working. He was pretty smug about it all and wouldn't budge on any customer's request. Before I paid for my second 4-glass round with my card, I asked the bartender within clear earshot of the manager a pretty basic question. You've both got your RSAs, right? All bartenders and bar owners are required to possess a responsible serving of alcohol license obtained through the state's Commission for Gambling and Liquor. It's a heavily regulated industry and a pretty strictly enforced license. Plainclothed officers will try to catch out bartenders who don't carry the license on them while serving drinks, and they'll sit to observe in bars for reckless behavior, such as knowingly serving alcohol to an inebriated customer. I am not someone with any legal authority, but I know enough people in bartending casino industry to be aware of the laws. Of course. Why? The bartender asked. He probably expected me to pull out a badge, but I'm just a customer who wanted a glass of wine. I explained that it seemed pretty irresponsible to serve a small woman 4 drinks simultaneously when all I was asking for was 1. Seems as though, by the bar's lack of attention, I have become quite drunk, and now you're about to happily process my second purchase of 4 drinks, knowing full well that I'm here alone? 8 drinks in less than an hour? Does that seem responsible to you? The smug look on the manager's face quickly turned to anger. I think you had enough then. No, you've already poured 4 more. Here, Take my card. Go on. Can't let all that wine go to waste. I mean, all I wanted was one, but if I have to get 4. The bartender was very confused and a little worried. Losing their RSA would mean losing his job. The manager refused to process my order and angrily poured 4 glasses of wine down the drain, a loss far greater than the small electronic transaction fee that would have come with my basic wine order. It was sad to see the wine go, but I was happy to tell them that I'm reporting them to the state commission for breaches of their RSA. A petty move, but the manager chose greed over customer service and got what he deserved. I actually downloaded the complaint form online and began filling it out there at the bar, all while my body was now feeling the full force of 4 smashed wines. I was giggling while doing it, and slurring my words while asking for the manager's name and today's dates. The bartender was very apologetic, and knowing none of this was his fault, I happily kept him off the form. By the time my friends arrived, I was pretty drunk. After telling my story, we decided to go somewhere else, and we definitely never went back. I don't know what came of the complaint exactly, likely a big fine, but the place shut down about 6 weeks later and became a brunch cafe. Seems like they lost all their regulars to a $20 minimum rule. Edit. Opening a tab is not a regular thing here. Many small bars, including this one, don't do tabs. Awesome old lady on the train. This happened quite some years ago when I had dizzy spells and would randomly pass out frequently. Still undiagnosed due to a horrible doctor, but went away on its own. Due to these dizzy spells, I was very hesitant to give up my seat on trains and buses as I was afraid that I'd fall and hit someone or something. I would still stand up if someone really looked like they needed it and ask politely, but I just didn't offer. One day I was getting on the train and an old lady carrying a cane wanted to board too. A gentleman offered to help her. Man, do you need a hand, ma'am? Lady, no thank you. I don't even need this cane, swings it around, but my husband insists that I use it just in case. She then hops on the train. I end up in the same area as the old lady, in 2 of the very few open seats. After a few stops, a Karen enters. She had the haircut, the clothes, and the attitude. By now, all the seats are filled, and there are already people standing around due to the lack of seats. Karen pushes through a few people, looks around, and loudly exclaims to no one in particular, "Will nobody offer a lady their seats?" Nobody responds. She then goes around complaining to a few random people sitting down that she needs to sit because she's been standing for over an hour. Oh, the horror. Try working retail. And just needs to put her feet up on a full train. Okay. One person gets fed up and gives her his seat, right across from the old lady from before. The Karen now has a seat, but still no place to put her feet up. She complains to the person next to her and to the old lady that these trains are always so cramped, and it would be good if people who didn't need seats just gave them up. The awesome old lady took this as her cue, made a point of standing up really slow and carefully, grabbing her cane and clutching it tightly and said, "You can have my seat. Your feet probably need it more." She then walked away very slowly, leaning heavily on her cane, and asking people to please step aside so she could fit through. Karen got many angry glares at this point, and she called out to the old lady, "You can just keep sitting here. I don't need it that badly." And the old lady replied, "You just said that you really needed it, so take it," and walked to the next cabin. Karen couldn't see her anymore at this point, but from my seat, I could see the old lady stand up straight and pick up the cane, swinging it around again. I don't think many people saw it because everyone continued to glare at Karen until she got off at the next stop. The old lady just really wanted to teach Karen a lesson by complying and acting her age, making Karen look like a horrible person. She has been my hero ever since. Well, That about wraps it up. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and bell. By the way, I just started a Discord server for anyone looking to be part of the LaughNapkin community. Link in the description below. See you next time!